Charlie Sauer here with the Inventors Project, and today we are at the Supreme Court. It's not exactly a happy day. We're here joining inventors protesting a case that might change innovation as we know it.
Hello, I'm Adrian Pelkus from San Diego, California.
So I'm Randy Landrino.
I'm Paul Morinville.
My name is Alan Beckley. I invented the Wonder Wallet.
What we're really protesting is the way that the patent system has been turned into a game of kings.
Well, I used to have a software company in Indiana before the PTAB killed it. But we're here protesting a Supreme Court case called Oil States, where it asks a question of basically, is a patent a property right, and if it is, can it be invalidated in an administrative tribunal without a jury?
I'm here advocating for the Oil States case at Supreme Court that hopefully will invalidate the PTAB, a three-judge administrative panel that can invalidate inventors' already issued patents, and there's no effective appeal for them other than to go back to in front of them again.
We need to keep patents property rights. Founding fathers thought that was the best way to make the country strong. We agree. We're here. I am an inventor, run one of the bigger clubs in the country. We're all very concerned. This issue being faced here today could change the nature of this whole country.
Administrative courts can be good and administrative courts can be bad. The PTAB doesn't have rules around it though, so the people that are in control always get to make up the rules. That's unconstitutional. That allows the government to take away property from inventors at will, and that's not the way that our founders intended our innovation economy to run, and that's not the way that it should run. And I can tell you this, the way that the innovation economy is hurting right now, it's not the way that our innovation economy is going to run either.
I'm very excited to welcome Adrian Pelkus, president of the San Diego Inventors Forum, to our show, and I'm hoping that we'll learn a little bit about what's going on in the patent world. Adrian, thank you so much for coming.
Why, thank you very much for having me today, Minda.
So you were in Washington, you heard the argument before the Supreme Court. Is it a property right?
Well,
is it
that is the question of the day, and right now it's an interesting case where we don't have a clear decision yet from the justices. That'll come out in May. What we saw from the hearing and the results of the debate there was that the government, we don't think, did a very good job in defending what they have done, just to put it mildly.
And what have they done?
Well, all of this is about an act that was brought about called the American Invents Act. And the American Invents Act was an effort to, as some put it, try to standardize us with the rest of the world. When this was first presented, the very first claim was that we were going to make our first-to-file system the same as the rest of the world. And I objected immediately, saying, why are we dumbing down our system when we were the best system in the world? Our system gave the inventor the right to prosper from their idea. And this is a right that was granted to us by our forefathers in Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution. To paraphrase, well, we have the rights to our ideas and to prosper from them. But before this, the history goes back when you lived in England and under King George times, you didn't own your ideas. If you had a good idea, the best you could get was a seat at the table, so to speak. Mm-hmm. The king took over everything. When our forefathers came to this country, one of the very first things they agreed to was that if we incentivize our populace to create new ideas, our country will grow quickly. And in fact, it did. And we became leaders in this world, in technology and innovation, because we had the rights to prosper from our ideas. The limited exclusive right that a patent would give us was granted in the Constitution. And the case that came about here this week is challenging that very right.
Well, I think it's not challenging the right to have a patent. What it's saying is that if you have a patent, who gets to decide whether or not it's valid? And who gets to decide depends on how you view what that right actually is, right?
Yes, yes. Well, the Americans of Act had a number of sections to it, and the one that we were most vocal against is something that's been created called a PTAB, a Patent Trial Advisory Board. These are actually, well, they're judges, but they've been, in essence, hired.
Right.
This group of three...
They're political appointees.
Yes, they're political appointees.
So they have the viewpoint of the political people who appoint them.
Right, which in the last administration, the head of the patent office was actually an ex-Google employee, so the conflict of interest was right off the start. This panel now has denied patents, and the patents that have been challenged, the PTABs have been able to prove that one or more claims were not correct, and in fact that invalidates the whole patent.
So what happens is the thing that determines somebody's right to something is written in claim language.
Yes.
So if one of the claims is determined invalid, then the whole patent is determined invalid. Is that right?
No, they can make one claim invalid, but in fact that might be the crucial claim that investors knew was going to be the key point of the whole patent. The PTAB is again 3 judges, and when they decide to deny a claim, or after, actually they're not denying the claims, they're looking at patents that have already been issued. So imagine you have a deed to a house. You bought the house, you own the house. Somebody comes along and challenges and says, no, you don't own this house. The PTABs are reviewing these, and they are taking away people's patents without a trial and without a jury.
Exactly.
And there's thousands of these patents now, and some of the biggest hit sectors are medical and high tech.
Right.
So we're seeing the demise of our entire patent system. Our patent system 10 years ago used to be #1 in the world. We're now number 10 in the world because of the changes from the American Invents Act. And the PTABs is a patent killing system that we actually pay money to the patent office to pay for this group to take away our patents.
Right. So what used to happen in the good old days, before they had the PTAB, was that you used to be able to file your patent, and then it was approved. And then after it was approved and you owned the right to the patent, then people would be able to come and challenge you. Now what's happened is, before you even get the patent, people can come and challenge your right to the patent.
Yes.
And they can do it in front of this organization called the PTAB. And the PTAB basically has a very pro-big business mindset, because it's basically the group of judges is garnered from big business.
Yes, yes, you're absolutely right. This entire industry was never represented until a couple of years ago, when a few of us inventors actually flew into Washington, D.C. and had to fly in and spoke our minds about what was going on. Until then, they had never heard from an actual inventor. They'd only heard from the people from Google and Amazon and Facebook that were paid to...
And the people who are in the business of trolling patents, taking expired patents and going after people. That was another issue,
That was an issue, but it was blown out of proportion and mischaracterized. The troll word was used because most people understand the little thing that's creepy and are scared of that image. It's actually a very huge misnomer. Most inventors like myself, I don't have a marketing department, so I'm a troll. A troll is a non-producing entity that first actually extended to universities, but they carved them out. A troll is a misnomer that was created as an image to scare the people in Washington into believing that there was a problem here that never really existed.
Well, I think there was 2 sides to that.
Yes.
And the one side is the troll misnotion of the small inventor, and then the other side was the hedge fund acquisition of patent rights, then using that leverage of large funds to go after people in the same position as yourself. So I think you got it from both. The small inventor got it from both sides. Is really what I see happening.
Yes, indeed. So the small inventor doesn't have the assets, doesn't have those resources, and is severely hammered by a lot of the acts. We have one example recently. His name is Josh Maloney. He invented the water balloon device that became a very huge success in the market here this year. His patents were challenged. Up until recently, it might even still be that you can actually challenge somebody with an issued patent and begin a IPR proceeding that only costs the person filing around $30,000 to get it started. It's about $500,000 just to start to defend it.
Correct.
So a lot of the small inventors go belly up right at the first challenge there. The overall problem has gotten so big that we now see China leading. China changed its patent laws. We used to always think, oh, the Chinese will just knock you off, but don't go to China. No, that's a fallacy that's absolutely changed in the last few years. They have better protection there. Court cases are being won there. And now companies here in the U.S. that had intellectual property that now know what the challenges are ahead of them are going to China. What's going there with them? Investment money. So what are we seeing? A decrease in the investment in startups in the United States, all attributable because our patent laws no longer protect the inventor and the investor that was going to support them.
It's terrible. Like, look at what's happened with software. With the Supreme Court made a decision where they essentially said that software that replicates human behavior is no longer patentable.
Well, software has been classified in many cases now as an abstract idea. They think the software doesn't do something. This is wrong. Software blends with a device to create a whole new device. And the algorithms that do that are unique. They were invented by the inventor who made that algorithm. So for the patent office to generally overreach and say, oh no, it has software, it's an abstract idea, that is ruining so many patents that are technically advanced, would have been wonderful innovations for our society, and now cannot come to market or won't in the US first because of this law. And a case in point this year, patent for an MRI machine that images you was denied eligibility for its patent because they said it was an abstract idea because it was software driven. Does that make any sense?
No.
Thank you.
No.
We don't think so either.
It's really a great loss because, again, the reason why the court initially decided that software was patentable was to give organizations like Google and Word and people that's founded Word and who wrote BASIC and all the initial languages used by computers an opportunity to patent their software. Yes. And now those people not only did very well for themselves, but spawned an era of innovation in the United States. I mean, you know, computers have changed our lives.
Oh, and they still are. And imagine what's happening now is we're exponentially growing in these fields and we can't get the patent protection. Where are we going to go to get that protection? You have to go to China or other countries now. So we're leaving the U.S. behind. It's intellectual suicide.
And so in terms of business, I mean, you've been an entrepreneur in many times. You've had many successes with your commercializing your patents. So how do you see that? How do you see people taking those opportunities now when the protections aren't as strong as they used to be? I mean, you still need entrepreneurs. You still need innovation.
Yes.
That's what makes this country great. So.
Well, it's especially a factor in the more technological areas and where the patent is really crucial. A lot of products are brought to market that are the tchotchkes. In other words, they'll be coming to market and probably getting out of market before the patent would ever even have issued. So that method, the method now of using a provisional patent to get a temporary, saying your patent pending, bring it and trying to get that license agreement is still a continuing way people do bring their products to market. It's the products that engineers and physicists and doctors and scientists that are developing that need much longer protection periods because they're going to take much longer to actually try and true and bring to market that this really affects. But then that is, again, the crux of our innovative side is the high-tech areas.
So what you're saying is essentially that people need a lead time in order to innovate and develop appropriately products that they wish to bring to market. And that by not recognizing that lead time, the patent office has taken away the opportunity to prosper from this innovation because we don't have the time to innovate anymore effectively.
Well, the time frame has certainly ramped up in most every areas. We have a trifecta of problems with a few more side problems that have come out of the American Invents Act. It starts with the first inventor to file instead of first person to invent law changed. And the small definition there makes it so that now anybody who goes to the computer and files for something is the named inventor. Used to be you could keep a notebook, have it witnessed, develop something, talk to people under an NDA, and you were rather safe under the way the system used to work. Now, lo and behold, I coach every Thursday inventors that come in from our inventors group, and I've met a couple of them that have actually found that their ideas have been stolen by somebody else that they inadvertently or accidentally spoke too much about, and they were unscrupulous and went to the computer. And no, they aren't supposed to be named inventor, but who's going to challenge that when they were the first one to actually file, which is the law now. So number one, we have an issue about even getting started and talking about your idea and communicating it has been hampered by American Invents Act on their rulings for the first inventor to file. Second up, yes, we have this issue now with Alice that says an idea that has software in it can't be patented because it's abstract. And now third, we have PTAB saying if a patent's been issued and somebody wants to challenge it, they're going to use new ways of looking at a patent than were used in the first place to review your patent. They use broadest possible terms. What that means is they can dig throughout history to find some way where something that you're doing has been done to invalidate your idea. Now, to tell you how awful this has become, this has actually been commercialized now as a way to, it's called efficient infringement. Companies know they can infringe on you. They've taken away injunctive relief. We can't even get the monies that's owed to us because of the new law changes with injunctive relief. There is a company in India now that it was $1,000, it's now for $400, will go back and data mine every patent ever issued and come back and give you all the data you need to defeat any patent. That means there isn't a patent in the U.S. that's worth more than $400.
Wow.
You know how many trillions of money in IP we have that's going to just disappear because our patent system and our representatives didn't understand well enough how it worked to be able to preserve what was the best system in the world?
So what can we do about it?
Well, there's a few local politicians that were the head of this change. They could be removed for one thing.
Okay, so who are those people?
Well, Darrell Issa was number one of the biggest persons, but then if they were wearing racing jackets, he'd have the biggest Google patch on him. He was the one in the AMN healthcare that I witnessed actually trying to tell us, oh, we need to make our system like the rest of the world. I hope the next time I can see him, I can say, well, congratulations, you got what you wanted, now we're 10th. The other things they can do, though, is become aware of this. It's almost frightening that so few people understand that their kids' ability to make a living off of their labors of their mind in the future is being challenged right now and might disappear. This world we've created and this country we've created was based on using intellectual property. We have to keep that a private property right. Private property means I can select where I choose to sell it, what I want to do with it, if I don't want to do anything with it. Those are my decisions because it was my idea, it was my property.
So let's talk about the solution. So the first thing people can do is, one, write their congressman and have them change the law to reflect the fact that patents are a property right. The second thing they can do is, based on our conversation, is to, if they have something that they've created, make sure that they do file before they go around talking to people, if it's patentable.
Yes, the old Navy expression was loose lips sink ships.
Yeah.
That's
and the third point that you made, which I thought was really critical also, was to let people know that you own the right to your intellectual property and you have the right to commercialize it. So make sure that when you do that, you do it efficiently and effectively so that you can maintain those rights and you aren't hurt by other people who are interested in knocking you down.
Absolutely, and the whole issue is, do you own this idea? Before you can license, when you talk to somebody about the license agreement, what's going to be conveyed is, do you own this idea? If you have the patent or patent pending, the answer is yes. And the second is, will it make money and how? And that's where you have to convince them that you've done your homework.
So doing your homework, getting good advice, making sure you advocate for your rights as property owners is the key to having successful intellectual property. This has really been very interesting, and I will hope you'll come back and share some more of your thoughts on intellectual property with us in the future. Thank you very much.
Oh, I'd be delighted. Thank you.
This is Minda Wilson for It's Up to You.